County Joint Planning Commission is now in session. Roll call.
John. Tom Best. Here.
Here.
Rosser. Here. Phillips. Here. Horn. Wood. Here. Larger. I'm here. Mike Clark. Here.
Okay, next on the agenda is approval of the September 4th regular meeting minutes. Is there any additions, deletions, or corrections need to be made? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Rick, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ron, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No old business, new business, public hearing, outdoor lighting, zoning, text amendment proposal.
Motion to exit the regular meeting.
I have a motion. Second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Everyone, welcome to our public hearing. That is for public comment. Amend the outdoor lighting section of the zoning code with my proposal. But the record reflects it. At this time, I would like to offer in the ledger independent, pretty small, right there. All members of the public will be given the opportunity to speak on this matter. We require that you state your name and your address before doing so. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this matter? Okay. No one swear in. You all can change your mind during the public hearing if you'd like. There really isn't an applicant as far as starting talking about it. So it was, as I recall, it was like twisting arms to try to get y'all to pass a motion for this public hearing, but we don't really have a really good chapter for regulating lighting in the zoning code. Really all we have is outdoor lighting, for the most part, lighting. Parking lots. Well, starting some months ago, spring, summer, some of my colleagues started becoming displeased with some of the lighting that was being, both with signage and just lighting around windows that was flashing really bright. And also, it seems as though there is at least one instance of that at the top of the hill where there's lighting around windows, and it's a bunch of different colors, and it's flashing, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought I'd bring a proposal to this body for consideration to address that. Because I think that, one, it's a safety hazard for pedestrians downtown and motorists on the top of the hill. We also have, Maysville has a brand of being a historic river town with two historic districts. And lighting that would be more at home on the Las Vegas Strip rather than Maysville seems like it would be out of place. Three different proposed edits to the chapter, the outdoor lighting chapter. One is in the very beginning with the opening text, so it adds, or a certificate of appropriateness is required for the installation of lighting fixtures, or when the installation of lighting is intended to illuminate or draw attention to the exterior of the structure. That's basically including lighting like that, more so than what most of the chapter is all about, which is lighting large parking lots. There's an exemption section, and this is probably the one that I think Michael would agree. I think we mentioned this at the Board of Architecture review meeting where we presented this to get their feedback. Holiday lighting is exempt before I require an exception. The point of this proposal is to regulate, really prohibit a lot of flashing lights. And I know that there's like Christmas lighting that does that, So I can see somebody who has lighting up already, making their lighting red during February and red, white, and blue during, June and July, and say, well, this is holiday lighting too. Well, that's not really traditionally appropriate. You don't really associate lighting with really anything other than maybe Halloween and but if you all have a better idea of how that would be, I'm open to the suggestion, but that's traditionally appropriate holiday lighting.
Right, but as I pointed out, as I pointed out to the Board of Architectural Review, sometimes leaving things vague as opposed to being very specific gives some room for interpretation and reasonable response as opposed to just this is the rule, right line. May not sit well, however you all want to look at it. I think in things like this, leaving some room for interpretation is a good thing. But that's just
and then the final outdoor lighting must be flashing, illuminating, varying light color. All outdoor lights should consist of constant intensity illumination. So I borrowed that language from the sign ordinance. This is a section on electronic signs because generally speaking, you can't have animated signs. As I understand it, scintillating would be like having part of it. Let's say you had a string of lights. If you were just illuminating one at a time, so this is like motion. Make sense? So this would eliminate flashing. It would eliminate dimming. You can't just eliminate lights going like around motion or on lights like you talked about the video. They're regulated in the day. I don't think so. That design is different from this. Like I borrowed the design
What did you say? What's different than what?
So this is
language is different than lighting?
No, this is for lighting specifically. We already have a sign ordinance that prevents stuff like that for electronic signs.
Okay.
I just borrowed the language from the electronic.
That has nothing to do with sign.
Right. I borrowed the language from the sign ordinance, from the electronic sign section for this section right here. This is just the light.
think it's string lights. Or lights that border like a window, or lights that are hung outside of a facade or storefront.
Do you swear or otherwise affirm to tell the truth?
I do. Bill Marshall, 6083 Key Pike. So if I've got something tall that I want to put a flashing light on top of, a radio antenna, a cell phone tower, DPNL type stack, I can't have a flashing light on it?
Well, I think that would be like that.
But I mean, if you're eliminating flashing lights in Mason County, I'm asking that you need something that says, hey, if you're going to have something for height, you got to let that flash.
My thought would be that's something that's required by a federal law, presumably, that's going to take priority, that's going to preempt the local zoning law.
Okay. I just when I hear the word all or none.
not that there's a lot of flashing.
Yes. I don't think anybody has currently got it. It currently has. There's some businesses that have it out there by Little Caesars, Little Big Shop, any of them. A lot of white dogs.
I guess technically, I would rather head this off the path before lots of others adopt it. Because when one place starts doing it, it tends to spread. I think of it this way, that, ever since I started, and it hasn't, I don't know, it debated a few years back, but as I understand it, we had a heck of a problem in the junkyard. And they weren't regulated yet. And we had to just tolerate them in the junkyard even after they were regulated. And if we had been proactive about it, if we had seen the first one, and about it, and the rest of them that.
What I would say is, in following what George said about that's the same. It's kind of like a legal non-conforming use if it tries to expand.
They were fine with it. They didn't have a strong opinion about it. I just presented it to them, and they really. I mentioned that we had talked about signage, at the very beginning. Problem with flashing lights and flashing signs downtown. Really, at that point, and with this lighting proposal, the Board of Architecture review really what it cared about mostly is flashing, anything that flashed. So, they were fine with open signs that were just constant. So that's kind of like with this. This is just keeping everything constant. Everything's just yeah, it's just constant. Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments? I have a motion to close the public hearing, go back to the regular. Second. All those in favor say aye. Go back to the regular meeting.
Thank you. So we'll pretty lukewarm this proposal last month.
The only reason I was lukewarm, I really didn't see a whole lot of it going on.
I know, but when it really starts before you see a whole lot of it, it's the best time to take it. Right here, coming out there, my backside, inside. And if it had been regulated when they first started becoming a problem, it would have stopped going.
Any further discussion?
I would like to edit that last part for variable illumination. I mentioned scintillating, and that means movement. I'd like to say all outdoor lights should consist of constant intensity of illumination of non-moving. Now, how do I knew I wanted to do this, but I didn't really come up with the wording. About non-moving constant intensity illumination. blinking, or you have motion, or you brought up I brought up the signage and you asked about that. I kind of, if we're not willing to put up with it with signage, I don't think we should put up with it with light. So anytime it flashes, anytime there's movement, and anytime the colors are changing, whether it's instant or dimming in and out, that does get people's attention, but do we want that getting people's attention when they're driving around pedestrians downtown or doing 55 as they're approaching the big intersection there? Because we've all seen it done. People don't slow down until the very end. That being one area, anywhere else.
You say that we should do, lighting at the same,
Well, not as the same, but as, meeting the same standards.
flash and do all kinds of things.
Well, again, it's a public school.
It's government entity.
Now, there are other
We can't tell you that. So to speak.
Well, I'm trying to get my mind, do one thing and
Our rules don't apply to that.
Decision one way or the other, what's the adjudication or the vehicle to appeal that. I'd like to be saying, if there's one requested administrative official make that decision, where does that agree? What's their vehicle to appeal or?
I think they can appeal to the Board of Adjustment, and if they don't like it, there's an avenue. Obviously, it would be government. They would either appeal to the City Board of Adjustment or the County Board of Adjustment. We had a similar issue recently in the county on George made a decision on an issue. It was like that. What exactly was it?
It was interpretation.
Correct. And someone didn't like the interpretation, so we basically got public hearing.
The only last technical second time been brought up on the first time we did the process. Yeah. If someone thinks I screwed up, they can come before the judge.
There's a general catch-all thing in the ordinance.
That is within a 30-day. The appeal must be made within.
I'm not going to have to be within 30 days, but yes, there's a catch-all appeal mechanism.
I think if someone's annoyed at me enough, they might do something about it. And I'll tell them. Let me know, and we'll go to the board of adjustment.
Any more discussion? I'm gonna ask for a motion to either approve or disapprove.
Well, the change I proposed, Michael made it better, proposed a better change. All outdoor light, actually let's make that lighting. All outdoor lighting should consist of static, constant intensity illumination of non-varying color. technically,
They can't make changes, if it's constant, they stay the same.
yeah, if they don't make changes, I think they can keep doing it, but if they change it, that's
Then,
Any more questions?
I'm not sure that I agree with that. I think maybe that if they've been doing it for 3 months, I think if the board talks to us, then I think we'd be able to say, you're out of here. I don't know. I'm not gonna say for certain that would be something that I would want to think about. That may be a question of whether or not he chooses to enforce it based upon it already being in existence.
And technically, they could be grandfathered, and I could love them. You know, they're welcome. That's not doing stuff like this. Yeah, more probably because once people start adopting it, it stops. Like Orloff on the Board of Architecture Review says that one of the reasons you want to stop stuff like that is because if you allow it here, but then you stop it here, you give somebody an unfair advantage. You know, so if somebody's got flashing lights, we don't generally have multiple versions of the same land use in close proximity when they're competing for the same customers. But if somebody starts using flashing lights and gets a lot more traffic, then this person's over here, this entity is over here, and that entity is over here. Before long, you know, you feel like you're living in the Las Vegas Strip instead of York. Not only is it inconsistent with our brand and our character, the biggest problem is that I think it is a public safety issue. Because if you're doing 55 and you see
You're right, Ed.
Okay.
I don't, this is just me, I don't like the idea of tomorrow morning George calling up somebody and saying, well, hey, we changed this, and you gotta turn the light on. I'm not, you know, I think that those people, it's not a crazy, out of control situation today, I don't know why we should think we should legislate somebody tomorrow morning to change their setup. I don't know anybody else thinks so.
well, the thing about lighting is, once you shut your lighting off, you have to stop it.
Still goes back to running the other day, saying, no, you're not allowed to do that.
I mean, that's just the nature of government passing laws. Oftentimes, laws are passed in response to an issue that needs to be addressed.
But we had any official complaints brought to us about anything that I have seen.
I mean, this is the proposal I wrote up because I thought that, you know, we should do it before the flashing lighting gets out. I mean, you all don't have to pass a motion, it doesn't need to go.
Well, I'm not necessarily against the motion, I'm just wondering how far back that makes it, since Mike really doesn't know for sure. Just a point.
One more time. Do I have a motion to approve or disapprove ordinance proposed? With this language.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. And a second? All who, you want to do a voice vote?
Yeah, I think you should do a voice vote.
Okay.
So voting aye would be to support the motion to recommend this. Nay is not choosing not to recommend it. That would have to be a separate motion. Does everybody understand that? John Hutchins.
Yes.
John Betts. Kirby Ross. Lindsey Phillips. Gerald Woods. No. He's got your spot now. Well, the motion carried. Yep.
A motion to go out of the regular meeting and hearing.
We're not having a public
Hearing
Okay.
side one.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
About what?
Sorry.
This will be a lot simpler. Now this one is about sign ordinance. Yep.
I need a motion to,
I'll motion.
John, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, we're in a public hearing. Go ahead.
All right, everybody, welcome to the second of two public hearings we have tonight. This is for another zoning text amendment proposal, and this one's for the sign. It's fairly simple. At this time, I would like to demonstrate that this public hearing will be noticed, consistent with state law. Here is a copy of the digital tear sheet used to generate the advertisement and letter of intent. It's the same one for the previous public hearing. All members of the public will be given the opportunity to speak on this matter. We request that you state your name and address for the record of any members of the public present who wish to speak on this matter. Okay, seeing none, I'll just talk about the proposal. This particular proposal arose from a specific situation in downtown MAYSVILLE that sort of reminds me of the technical role in sign ordinance with respect to post signs in downtown MAYSVILLE. As I understand it, and no one's really 100% agreed with me, but most people think that's probably true. Post signs were prohibited downtown in response to the electronic sign that Valero put. Look at the second page of the proposal, what I struck out. Post signs prohibited in the South District, that's now called the Main Street District, the South District is the name for it, and post signs were only permitted in D1 downtown business zones, full walking D1 zone land. This effectively gets rid of both of those stipulations and says that post signs in downtown MAYSVILLE, downtown business zones, 12 feet in height, consistent with our, but are only permitted in the front yard of properties that are under the front setback of 1 feet. Both properties, the Main Street District, don't have a front yard. There's no opportunity for posts on that. This would affect probably a handful of properties that have large lots or have large structures that are at least 20 feet from the front property line. To think of the French Quarter Inn, I don't think they have a post sign, but they could because they have a large setback to their property. And they'd be able to have one that is 12 it would be able to be 12 feet in height and have 12 square feet per face, which doesn't sound like a large sign, but it is. It would be just the right size there. Small enough or large enough to try to get the attention over the bridge or over on the high side of the river, but it would be enough for people driving past. This would affect properties like the French Quarter Inn, Primary Plus, their new facility. Bank of MAYSVILLE on 3rd Street, they've got structure there, and setbacks very far. But most of the other properties also the apartments where the old high school used to be. It's arguable, debatable which side of that's the front. I probably let that say one side there.
Where does it set back really start?
It would be at the property line, so it would have to be every part of the sign would have to be 5 feet back. These post signs would be able to have a height of 12 feet, which is not what it says in the chart. They would have to follow everything else that was in the chart, so they would have to be a 5-foot setback from the property line, and they'd get a maximum of 12 square foot per face. Now they could get a variance for the area allotment, but they'd have to demonstrate why they would need that.
Well, it says, like 12-foot height are only permitted in the front yard of properties that have a structure with a front setback of at least 20 feet. Where does that 20 feet measurement start from?
The property line. Generally, if there's a side,
I'm not familiar with the property line. Is it a sidewalk? Is it a?
So if there's a sidewalk in properties. Yeah, so it's usually on the inner side of the sidewalk. And in some places on that sidewalk, it would just generally be wherever the road right of way is, which would probably be where the curb stops. And it has to have structure on it. Side on the end of the lot next to it. It has to be the same, like, so think of like lasting impressions, how they have a parking lot right next to them. They wouldn't be able to put one there because there's no structure.
Bill Marshall, 6083 Key Pike. I've sworn. You want me to swear again?
Do you swear otherwise affirmed to tell the truth, please say?
I do. 2 questions. 12-foot high, is that measuring to the very top of the sign? And if I have the room in front, but I decide I want to put my pole behind, can I do that? Okay.
Wouldn't do you any good because it can only be 12 feet high. Well, you could get a variance for that, but
As I'm trying to catch people coming across the bridge, I can see I'd want to be on the north side of the lot instead of the south side. But
that's not what this is. 12-foot high sign, 12 square feet per face. So we're not trying to have any more of those Bolero signs down there. This would be a respectable sign. It's about twice my height. It's got 12 square feet.
All the grandfathered in gas stations, everybody else is
Yeah.
grandfathered.
Pretty much. If they've been there for 10 years, nobody's done anything about it.
Let me ask you a legal question. If the gas station is sold, does that grandfather go with the deed?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, grandfather, there's a law that says that something is prohibited or non-conforming, but it's in existence for 10 years, and somebody like me hasn't done anything about it in that 10 years, then it's grandfathered. But they can't expand. You can keep going, but you can't expand the size and scope if it's prohibited. And if you stop, if the non-conformance of like operation after a year or some kind of then it's no longer grandfathered. If they took that sign down for a year, for repairs and getting it up in time, technically after a year, I can say you can't put that back up. It's not grandfathered. Does the state level allow for grandfathering? So it's not very friendly to it. So there's mechanisms for it to end. Eventually, like David Pike said, eventually all grandfathered, legal non-conformances should go away. Because eventually, property owners are going to pass on, and their children are going to stuff like that. long as, I mean, they can be 12 foot wide by 1 foot tall. If you had one like that and it was orthogonal to the road, it would still have to be 5 foot away from the front setback. They are orthogonal.
I know a lot of words, George, but I've never heard that.
Orthogonal?
Word salad.
Google it. I had a lot of math in college.
Okay.
Currently, they can't have show signs downtown, right? Is what you're saying.
So if no one else wants to speak in public.
All right, any motion to back into Rick? Rick? All those in favor say aye.
No, they can't. Unless they're a government entity.
So just to explain to you, Gerald, originally after that sign, this covers the sign, I do want to explain to you. After that sign, electronic signs were banned, they were prohibited. Then there was a service station that wanted to have digital signs for the prices, and they weren't going to be able to get a franchise without being able to do it. Because it's far easier to have a long pole trying to, in a wind trying to change them, right? I think it's safety. So electronic signs are permitted, but the restrictions are so restrictive that really, unless it's like a school where it's grandfathered, and I admit that there are a few that I need to enforce this on. There's electronic signs that have kind of gotten out of hand, and I'm going to deal with those. With animation, how often you can change it, the colors you can have, that really the only entities that can have them. So it's like a carve out. I don't like being able to. I like being able to say you can't have them. You can have them technically, but it's so restrictive that you might as well not do it.
But the ones that have cash and credit, are those permitted or not?
No.
They're not permitted. Nope. You just see them in Ohio all the time.
Right.
That's why I was curious.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because if there are, I mean, I can think of one right now where it blinks like this. It's like it's on my list of ones to take care of. What do y'all think? This is a lot simpler than the last one.
Any more questions? Hearing none.
Does anybody have anything to add, or do you think there's any language that would make it better? All right.
I have a motion to approve or disapprove. Motion to approve. Okay.
We might as well do a voice vote since we did the last one. All right, so again, this would be, voting aye would be to support the motion to recommend this zoning text to the local legislative body. Voting nay would be to have a new motion to not recommend. So, John Hutchins. John Bennett.
No.
Kirby Rosser.
Yes.
Lindsay Phillips. Yes. Rick Lawrence.
Yes.
Gerald Woods.
Yes.
Comprehensive plan.
Okay, so I don't think that the current first 16 goals, objectives, and strategies have changed since the last meeting. I don't think that's occurred. But does anybody have any questions? I sent you a copy of it. Does anybody have any questions about it? There's still a few areas where it needs to be amended because the relevant subcommittees weren't able to get together. I'm doing the culture and history one. That's the tourism director and the Main Street director. Those are the ones that still need to be addressed. Some of them are just simple questions. There's and right now, Allison, I haven't heard from her since our public meeting last week. She's putting together the land use and the environment goals, objectives, and strategies. I'm assuming that she might, she and I might kind of tag team it and just sort of address highlights of life. But that should get done probably at the next hearing.
I don't have anything. And I think you and Allison need to be commended on going into the alliance in some areas, and I think you have
That second meeting, I really nothing like thinking I'm not bragging or anything. It's nice.
Well, you do this for a living, George.
Yeah. The one thing does anybody have any questions about the process or those strategies, any of that stuff? That includes the public, if anybody wants to ask. So those were our final public meetings. And so Allison is going to take what was said. She took a lot of notes. That was her function at these two meetings. She's going to put together for the final theme, use in the environment. She's going to put together goals, objectives, I think strategies. We're also needing those, and then we need to schedule we're going to talk about this here. We're going to have at least one more steering committee meeting, and eventually you all are going to have a public hearing for a final draft. Now, she talked about just having the goals and objectives done, but I'm pretty sure that both the legislative bodies just want to be able to do the goals and objectives this meeting, and we'll do the rest of this meeting. So we need to finish the goals, objectives, and strategies, and put in everything else that's going to be in there. Probably a lot of stuff that's in the current one that's kind of back. Then next we have a finalist draft. The hearing committee has approved. You all will have a public hearing on it because that's actually you all have one public hearing about it. And then it'll go to the local legislative body. The timeline of this, a little bit more work to do. The holidays are coming up. I don't know. I need to talk to her once she gets back about the next hearing committee when we can, kind of. There's still a lot of putting together of all the other content stuff. So
Steering committee from what she writes for this last two public hearings.
Scrub.
Well, go over it and approve it.
Right. Yeah. So we'll have. I don't know what the next meeting's going to be. We haven't really scheduled it. Yeah.
we've had public meetings. Are we expecting any more changes?
I mean, with having a public hearing in front of you guys, there's always that possibility. Are we expecting any more changes? And there's still a little bit more work to do with the yellow stuff. We still have to have the final theme having.
Yeah, but I think that was the things that I heard at the public meetings is that the documents could change. It seemed like we are getting down now to the finer details. Anyway. If there's any more changes, we're going to have a public meeting.
Well, I mean, the goal of the public meeting is just to get input. That's
The sheets of the whole. That's not going to happen.
finalize that plan and bring it to the board, bring it to us. If they don't have a quorum, they're unable to vote on it, what's the legal procedure for getting it to the board?
Well, that's something that George and I have talked about, and that's something that George, I think, is going to discuss next.
Yes. So, Michael and I discussed this, and we think that definitely forum where this was recommended. So, in your packets, there is basically a graph using the minutes form of the steering committee showing attendance. And congratulations, Rick. You've been at every steering committee meeting. There should be an award for attendance. But you are pretty much the only small product. Yeah. Text in the mail. I would like to discuss trimming this steering committee because there are some people who actually there are two that never showed up. There is a member who parted ways. She's actually not on this list, but she's still on the committee technically. When we started this in 2022, we had 2 juniors in high school, and typically they're off the top. In fact, anytime I or email, get back with one of their emails that doesn't get. So I think take those 2 off as well. I would also like to recommend putting Tyler McHugh on there because he was Jody's replacement and he's been showing up most of the week. So, any recommendations for, kind of, we can have a list. And most of the work is done, so the expertise that these people brought, they've already shared with us, so they were actually showing up.
Really is to nominate people or make the change on the committee.
This body. Us, you guys. Because as you recall, it was Zoen, it was the mayor, it was Matt, it was me coming up with the list and making recommendations to you all, but the planning commission chose that's why I'm bringing it to you all tonight. I'm suggesting right off removing Bradley Day because he's never shown up. Removing Anita Boyd because she's never shown up. Removing Jody Ashby because she parted ways with us last year. Removing both Taylor Watts, Mara Hartman, David Reed, you've had better steering committee. Very on top of
For example, not on a 4-day board, they were chosen to represent the planning board.
So technically, it would be appropriate for you to be on there because we wanted to be planning. Y'all think y'all looking there? Ronnie Lawrence has been a year and a half. I think that Doug Wadley has.
He's gone.
Yeah,
From my understanding.
Yeah, that's what I understand. I mean, if anybody else knows better. But I mean, he showed up every meeting about a year ago, and then I looked him up on LinkedIn. It says that he works in Tennessee, though I think he's still transferred. Yeah.
Clark.
So I mean, I don't want to whittle this down to 5 people, but there's definitely. Right. So.
I mean, there would be more other people than committee members.
I wouldn't want to add anybody to the committee. Let's just pare it down and move forward.
Well, I would like to add Tyler.
Replacement, yes.
All right, so add those 2, and then the 2 students, Bradley, Anita, Jody. Who else?
Does Andy stay on it?
Yep.
Okay.
All
Jones, that's all he can do.
Five, who else do you wanna call? The two students, Mara Hartman and Taylor Watts, they've moved on to college. Bradley Day and Anita Boyd, they never showed up. And then Jody's not on this list, but she is not here anymore because of the IDA last year. Five on and then adding Tyler and David Green.
Those two, we can take him off.
It's all whatever you guys want.
Doug, Wadley, he's been transferred out, he's not. He was chairman, and Danny kind of assumed that.
Doug Wadley. Dr. Denton's only been here once.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's on there. Blake Jones has been here twice. Yeah, come with. I'm fine with this. This is what I'm fine with. Mayor, Victor McKay, Owen, Chris O'Hearn, Casey. Lori might show back up. Vic, White, Reliable. Mark Tackler, he might show back up. If I have him. I don't have Barb Clark on here, so yeah, she's not.
She's probably Amy White.
Yeah. So the list I've got is add Tyler McHugh and add David Reed and remove C.J. Hunter, Doug Wadley, Mara Hartman, Taylor Watts, Bradley Day, Anita Boyd, Jody Ashby, Blake Jones, Ronnie Lawrence, Lamont Johnson, Dr. Craig Denham, and Barb Clark. That's fine with that. So I think we need a motion to do that.
So moved.
I have a motion to, for the strength committee, do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
That was the first.
Opposed?
All right. Anybody else have any other questions about comprehensive plan update?
I would suggest that we make a concerted effort to get these remaining folks to the meeting so we can make action. If they take personal invites or whatever.
Yeah, both Michael.
I'll ask you later. Start one. You can replace her.
She's been pretty reliable.
Any other business? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?